For your timer? I should have just
Put it on the screen.
like have a big X when it's like time.
I saw that timer this weekend.
I could try it. Just 3 minutes. Well, no, my phone's dying.
I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Raton City Commission to order, please. Desiree, can we have roll call?
Yes, sir. Mayor Sagata.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Chatterley. Present. Commissioner Schuster. Present. Commissioner Giacomo. Present. And Commissioner Honeyfield.
Here. Would y'all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to our meeting. A couple of announcements. Our next regular commission meeting will be Tuesday, June 10th, 6 p.m. here in the chambers. And at this time, we have a proclamation we'd like to deliver. Proclamation, Lemonade Day. I see a big lemon walking in. Perfect. Lemonade Day for July 5th, 2025. Whereas Lemonade Day is a free, community-wide educational event providing children with the opportunity to learn and apply entrepreneurial thinking and create a foundation for success in the global economy. And whereas Lemonade Day exists to infuse today's youth with the spirit of enterprise, teaching the basic business and entrepreneurial skills necessary to become successful, contributing members of the community, and whereas Lemonade Day offers opportunities for families, businesses, schools, youth organizations, neighborhoods, institutes of higher learning, and government agencies to unite for a common purpose to train the next generation of entrepreneurs. And whereas the City of Raton commends the volunteers and participants of Lemonade Day and extends best wishes for a successful and rewarding event. Now, therefore, do I, James Neal Sagata Jr., Mayor of the City of Raton, New Mexico, hereby proclaim July 5th, 2025 as Lemonade Day in the City of Raton and urge all citizens to participate by either buying or helping children sell lemonade. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Raton to be affixed this 27th day of May, 2025. Let me squeeze through it real quick. Give this to somebody.
Squeezing through the lemons.
Squeezing through the lemons. You caught that, huh? I want to get down here, so I'm not blocking anybody. All right, thank you. Here you go. Thank you all. Good luck, folks. Good luck.
That's Saturday, right? July 5th.
Thank you.
All right, at this time we have the introduction of a new employee, Mr. Mestis.
Guess they're not here.
Not here. Okay.
In absentia.
We'll postpone.
Okay. Item 5, committee reports from commissioners. At this time, I'd take a motion to postpone this item for the brevity of the meeting.
Motion postponed till our next meeting?
We have a motion second to postpone committee reports for commissioners. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7A, deliberate and act on approval of May 13, 2025 regular meeting minutes. It all should have been presented with the minutes. If they're, oh, I'll get to that. Sorry, thank you. If there are no corrections or additions to the minutes, they will stand approved as presented. Seeing none, minutes stand approved. All right, since I did skip item 6, item 6 is items from citizens present. This time we will take comment from any citizen. However, if you are here to comment on something on the agenda, please wait until that item comes up. So anyone wishing to address the commission on a non-agenda item at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on. Now we'll move on to 7B. Introduction of ordinance and ordinance repealing ordinance number 1013 pertaining to the adoption of Ramble Family Farms LLC as an economic development project. Some ground rules for this. This is an introduction only of this ordinance. This is just an introduction. This is where the commission will take public comment at this time. And that's what we're going to do, take public comment. There will not be any bantering or answering of questions. We'll be brief. We'll hear you all out. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. But the minute it starts turning into a bantering or back and forth, public comment is over. All righty?
Comments from the commission.
We'll take comments from the commission at the end.
Okay.
We will take comments from the commission. And to kick us off, City Manager Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, tonight we are introducing an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 1013 pertaining to the adoption of Ramble Family Farms Limited Liability Corporation as an economic development project. I would like to point out a few items related to this project. First and foremost, Ramble Family Farms and the Heirloom Shop are two separate businesses as defined in Section 115.28 of the City Code. This ordinance has nothing to do with the Heirloom Shop as it was created after the original Local Economic Development Act agreement and was never formally added to the agreement as an addendum or an amendment. Second, our current situation arises in large part in response to a meeting with Mr. Kayvon Kalabari of Ramble Family Farms on May 9th, 2025, attended by Mr. Kalabari, Commissioner Lindy Schuster, County Commissioner Cy Trujillo, Economic Development Director Cynthia Molina, and me. At the May 9th meeting, Mr. Kalabari made it abundantly clear that if the city did not meet 3 specific demands, he would cease operations on June 30th, 2025. These are his words, not the city's. The demands were that the city, number 1, authorize acquisition of the public asset at year 5, allow a deduction from a newly appraised value, a series of expenses, some of which appear to be out of compliance with the LIDA, and 3, secure a new appraisal that he viewed as acceptable, essentially enabling him to acquire the property without cost. It is Mr. Kalabari who is threatening to cease operation. The city had never threatened to end its partnership with Raton Family Farms. I want to emphasize that the city paid for an appraisal of the property a year ahead of schedule, in which Mr. Kalabari immediately challenged and demanded a new appraisal. The proposal before you to repeal the LIDA agreement is simply a response to his repeated written and verbal demands which fall outside of the scope of the LIDA agreement and which we feel do not best serve the taxpayers of Raton, nor that encompasses the agreement entered into. What we are experiencing are repeated attempts to leverage community goodwill to force the city into giving a public asset without charge and without Raton Family Farms meeting, among other things, its job creation and economic development targets. While we acknowledge the role of Raton Family Farms and the heirloom shop in the community, the full context of this matter needs to be understood. The city has been in ongoing discussions with the owner for many months and has made significant accommodation to support the project's success. The owner was granted a 5-year rent-free lease under a 10-year Local Economic Development Act agreement, specifically designed for job creation and to encourage investment and substantial improvements to the property. The city even built $700,000 greenhouse as an incentive to Raton Family Farms without cost to them. The written agreement states that the property may be purchased at fair market value after 5 years and with local economic development incentives subtracted off the price of the property after 10 years. I understand that Mr. Kalabari is an experienced businessman. He signed this agreement willingly, and if there were any questions about the clarity regarding our lease, that should have been addressed when he signed the agreement on May 21st, 2021, some 4 years and 6 days ago. Despite this generous arrangement, the building has seen little to no meaningful development and remains underutilized since the agreement began. On more than one occasion, the owner issued an ultimatum to the city. He has threatened to shut down operations June 30th unless the city transfer the deed to the property immediately, utilizing the 10-year standard and counting regional economic impact. In short, and no cost to him. This pressure tactic has forced the city to consider its fiduciary responsibility to the public and whether the current arrangement serves in the best interest of Raton residents. The agreement also requires Raton Family Farms to employ a minimum of 15 employees during the first 5 years of the agreement. Even if the city were to include the employment at the heirloom shop, past and present job creation falls way short of the agreed-upon goal. In fact, Mr. Kalabari has indicated more than once that he does not plan on meeting the agreed goals. Some additional history. The first threat to shutter the business was on February 25th in response to the appraisal of the property. He escalated these demands to the city in an email on March 1st, 2025 as follows. The immediate deed transfer of the entire Armex property to include warehouse and greenhouse to Raton Family Farms at no additional cost in consideration of their economic contributions to the region. 2, removal of the city and police items currently stored at the warehouse no later than March 15, 2025. And 3, a revised and equitable utility rate ensuring the farm can continue operations. Otherwise, the farm would be forced to close within 30 days. On point 2, regarding city and police items currently stored at the warehouse, it is my understanding that as the Armex building filled up, the city would vacate. To date, the building remains mostly empty. The city has about 19,000 square feet. He has about 34,000 square feet of the 53,000 square foot building. As for item 3, Raton Family Farms only started paying electrical utilities during January of 2023, with RPS having accommodated the rate request change applied. The upcoming vote is not about undermining local businesses. It is about ensuring transparency, accountability, and responsible stewardship of public assets. The city remains committed to fostering small business and community-driven initiative, but it has an obligation to ensure that agreements are honored and that the public resources lead to measurable outcomes and benefit the community. At the end of the day, LIDA is a business partnership with an emphasis on partnership. While Rammel Family Farms Limited Liability Corporation recent actions have caused us to question and lose trust and confidence in its ability to serve as a partner, we are open to continued dialogue. However, we will not set precedent for decision-making based upon threats, and we will only make decisions based on partnership. Therefore, the city recommends that the commission vote in the affirmative to repeal ordinance number 1013. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Methis. This time we'll take public comment. You have 3 minutes to address the commission. Anyone wishing to address the commission, please come up to the podium, state your name, and the clock will begin.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Patricia Walsh, and I'm here with my husband, Al Frederick. We sent an email today to all of you, and I'm going to read that into the record tonight. We're here to express support for Rammel Family Farms and the LIDA agreement between the company and the City of Raton. Rammel Family Farms has increased food security for our community by growing food locally for schools, senior centers, and restaurants, including K-Bob's and Bruno's Pizza. The company's affiliated store, the Heirloom Shop, has expanded shopping options in our small town, carrying several items not available elsewhere in Raton, and which we purchase on a regular basis. In addition to greens, tomatoes, and other produce grown at Rammel Family Farms greenhouse here in town, they sell other regionally produced items, including meat, fresh bread, eggs, pies, cheeses, etc. The company has provided jobs for local residents and spent money to create a beautiful greenhouse as a tenant at the city's Armex property. In a community with many empty storefronts, company owner Kayvon Kalatbari has supported Zia Youth's location at 2nd and Park through a generous lease agreement. We cannot understand why the city is considering repealing Ordinance 1013, which grants Rammel Family Farms the right to continue their business in this town. We hope the city can shed some light on the current reluctance of city officials to continue the contract. We are in dire need of economic development in this city, and this seems to only defeat that goal. There are other entities interested in the state's LIDA program, and this can only discourage those wanting to do business in Raton from seeking that option. Our community's reputation depends on honoring our agreements. Please find a way to maintain the LIDA agreement with Rammel Family Farms. Perhaps any conflicts could be resolved with the help of an independent mediator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jeff McLean. I'm with Zia Youth, and I came to speak on behalf of Kayvon and Rammel Farms. Brought my mushroom hat that I got at that price gouging Super Save establishment. Speaking of that, you know,
We're not going to bash other people, and if you are, I will have you removed.
All right. Well, let me stick to the item at hand. I noticed this short films on the Santa Fe Trail poster here, which is kind of cool to see in the offices of the City Commission. That was an event Zia Youth put on in 2022 before El Raton Media Works had gotten established with youth filmmaking in town. And Kayvon, I had asked him if we could use the El Raton Theater to have a short film youth film festival. And he didn't ask any questions. He just said, yeah, let's do it. And he did not charge us for the space. He did not charge us for the hours his crew put into film projection. He ran the concession stand. He popped popcorn. He gave out free waters, free sodas, free candy. And that just kind of sums up what Linda and my experience has been with Kayvon. I grew up kind of a punk rock kid, anti-authoritarian, and when I first learned of Kayvon, I was very skeptical of this guy and his money from Colorado who had a recreational weed place or whatever. And the more I worked with Kayvon, the more I saw that this was not my father's rich guy. This was a guy who had principles and ideals. And Linda and I had tried to open Zia Youth for about 3 years before we met Kayvon. We'd talked to building owners, from city representatives to the Catholic Church to out-of-state building owners to local building owners, and no one would give us the time of day. We were an unproven entity with an idea. And we talked to Kayvon for 20 minutes, and he said, I got a space you guys can operate out of. All he cared about was we wanted to empower kids. He didn't care about our track record. He felt what we were talking about, and he gave us a space. And I mean gave us a space. He thought he was going to get a tax write-off, I believe. So he gave us a year of free rent. Turned out he didn't get a tax write-off. It was a building that there was some sort of deal with. I'm not the businessman he is. I don't know the details. But after a year, he said, I got to start charging you something. We started paying him $150 a month. Then we were outgrowing that little space over where the Pack-Rat is now. And we asked him about the corner space. He was hoping to get about $1,000 a month from a business to operate in that prime location. Okay.
Minutes up, thank you. Can I ask, is there somebody watching something?
Yeah, it's
Nobody can hear anything out there. You guys don't have it piped out there.
We've asked them.
Yeah, they're listening to this.
Okay. That's, if they're listening to this, that's fine.
It's
That's
this
fine.
meeting, yeah.
All right.
All right, I'll be pretty quick. My name is Molly Snook. I'm one of the owners of Simpson's Local Market in Trinidad. Our partnership with Ramel Family Farms has been paramount to our success during our first year in business. We rely on the greenhouse for year-round local produce, and beyond that, 3 of our top 10 best-selling items come from Ramel. We sell about 40 pounds of greens every month and have purchased over $45,000 worth of inventory from the farms. Both of our stores also source from High Country Meats in Raton, and losing either or both of our stores would cause an additional loss of revenue to the city. We pride ourselves in stocking local products, which goes back into the local community. These are exponential dollars that just they stay in the community. That's really important in independent grocery. Ramel's reach goes far beyond Raton. Closing the farm would irreparably harm not only my business in Trinidad, but the entire region's food system. In a landscape of increasing food insecurity, Ramel Family Farms is essential to building a sustainable supply chain. I cannot emphasize enough how much Ramel means to the entire I-25 corridor from Walsenburg to Las Vegas. This is a resource that other communities do not have. We are asking you to honor an agreement that's already in place. Driving out a successful, innovative business that supplies residents with high-quality products will reflect poorly on Raton for years to come, sending a clear message that it's not safe to invest here. I urge you to think about what's best for the city of Raton, its residents, and fellow small businesses across the region.
Hi, my name is Shauna Wells. I'm the new academic pre-K teacher at the elementary school. I'm not from Raton. I've been here for almost 2 years now. I don't know Kayvon. I only know of him, but I want all of you to know that my intention when I got here was to open an indoor children's play facility. Wendy has shown me every building in this town, every building. I'm watching the way you treat him, because what that gal just said about investing money in this town, I have had so many business owners tell me, don't do it. They won't support you. I was going to invest a significant amount of money to build a large children's indoor play facility for this town, for children that are indoors for so many months of the year. And I told my husband in the past few days, absolutely not, from what I've heard about what's going on. Saying that this comes down to a business is wrong for what he has brought to this town. I see the kids eat the breakfast and the lunch every day with fruits and vegetables. And I bragged to my Texas friends a million times, you can't believe what this town gives to their children. And that's all I have to say.
I'm Nathan Green. I've been in the area here for about 20 years. I live east of here in Des Moines. We've been a business owner and a property owner in Raton since 2018. At that time, we started buying historic properties and renovating them, making them usable again, which I would venture to say they were not usable before that time. But the last time I was in here was in front of the board for a fairly simple request to make a variance change, which I understand there's rules and regs that may have eliminated that possibility. But the general feeling was that I was kind of being scorned for even asking, and that was disappointing to me. I left after that meeting and put the properties up for sale on the market. We moved away from our house. We were gone for a couple of years, and in that time, I met Kayvon through a mutual Denver friend and found out some of the things he was doing in Trinidad and was pretty excited for what that looked like. And then over that course of the next year, found out that he was taking interest in Raton and moving a lot of his operations here, which is pretty exciting for somebody that's been in this town for any amount of time to see somebody new coming in, and not just new, but somebody that's skilled and experienced in all of these different areas. I think his contribution to the town is huge. And I think that any resistance from the city that pushes him out of here should be considered really carefully because of what other people have said and the precedent that will set for other people that want to do business here. I've got talks in the works right now with a partner of mine about investing pretty heavily here to do a project, and I will tell you for certain those talks will cease until we find out what happens here, because if that's not going to be supported, then there's really no reason to continue, and the properties will probably go back on the market for sale because, he's bringing something to town that we've never seen here. He's done a great job at it, and I think anything other than full support by the city is kind of foolish. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. My name is Kimberly Burke. I am Mama Kay from Mama Kay's Ice Cream Shop. My little shop is right next door to Kayvon's store. And I just need to say that losing Kayvon and his business is going to affect quite a few people, quite a few other little businesses in our town. My husband and I put everything on the line, everything. I'm a retiree from the city and county of Denver. I worked for the city and county of Denver for 15 years, took my entire and my husband's entire retirement money, and my whole family, all 20 plus of us, have moved to Raton because we believed that it would be a great place to start a small business. And 2 of my family members have also opened a business in Raton. But it's easy to make the words, grow Raton and support our local businesses. Whatever we need to do to make that happen, to keep good businesses in town, to keep people coming through. I got a lot of people coming to my little shop because they first gone to Kayvon's, and vice versa. A lot of times I send them over there, and it's synergy, and people say, wow, this First Street is changing, huh? It is. And we've started a band. We call it our First Street Revival Band, and we play for free in my shop and in front of my little shop because there are people there, because his chairs and his tables are there. So be careful, be very careful, because we have a reputation and we have to show the town and the surrounding communities and our people that we're willing to put our mouth, not just work our mouth, but work our pockets and work mediation, whatever we have to do to keep these people here, because we lose more than we think we're going to lose. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Most of you know me in the commission. I'm Rose Marchetti, 4th generation Ratonian and Colfax County rancher. etc. I just am here. I'm pretty protective of our little town and of our assets and of our resources. I can get my feathers ruffled pretty easily when people cuss Raton and cuss where we are and what we do to people from outside. Having said that, I also am pretty protective of growth and aspire for growth and for, even a sustainable community. And an old lawyer here, he retired and moved away, named John Davidson, had done a community center-ish called Center for Sustainable Community, something like that. And this food part of it is huge. We're cattle ranchers. We're all about food. Everything we do is about putting beef in front of on your plate. And I heard the beginning. Thank you very much for the introduction that you gave, because I'm not watching your minute by minutes, try as I might. I understand that sounds like it's a pretty touchy situation. I would encourage you, having said that, to figure out a way to negotiate and figure out a way to keep this going. And I think I've met Kayvon for about 30 seconds over in Trinidad, but that's about I shop at his store. I appreciate it deeply, and I appreciate the specifics I've seen that are grown here. I have a deep pride when I go down to Vegas and see the little mini health food store, and they have Kayvon's products. They have Raton blend and Trinidad blend in their stores, and that makes me proud. I'm content saying I am from there. And so please do your best to negotiate all around. That goes for the whole group. And thank you for the moment that we've had with that and for where it's going. I'm looking forward to seeing the growth. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I think you know who I am, but I'm Sandy Solano. I'm here as a concerned citizen and also a concerned business owner. Solano's has been here for 69 years. We have seen a lot of ups and downs with the economy. I find it difficult to hear there's a business who has been thriving here, as Kayvon has with his shop. I'm a produce freak. I used to live in Denver for 25 years. I make sure I get the right lettuce, the right blend, everything. I haven't found anything better than Kayvon's produce. I have family in Albuquerque coming when they visit to take produce back because it's so good. Not only that, it's hard to keep a business going in this town. I know that personally. My family knows that. This business is thriving. Why do you want to put a damper on it? Go with the agreement. I would wonder if you guys had this same situation that this man had a verbal agreement, had an agreement, and then all of a sudden these people are no longer on the commission, or the agreement is no longer valid because there's nobody who was here that was here before who agreed to it. This man needs to be honored his agreement. The city has given a lot of special treatment, shall I say, maybe that's the wrong word, to other landowners, other people. I could say things that I don't see that the city is used for certain things that they spend so much money on. And bike trail, how many people use that? How much money was spent on that? We have a thriving business here who is good for all surrounding communities. I hate to see them go. I stand by this. I hope you guys can work out a solution. It would be tragic if this shop, especially young entrepreneurs like this, we ask entrepreneurs to come to this town. We can't even bring our own people back to this town. When I left Solano's in 1980, I said, I'll never come back. What brought me back was my brother passing away, sadly. But I'm glad I could be back here because I want to carry on my business. And I'm lucky that my family established that. They don't have to go through stuff like this with a new business who's thriving. I hope you guys consider the old agreement because you're going to lose a good family, good produce, who's going to hurt not only our community, surrounding areas. Thank you, Kayvon, for all the hard work you've done to bring your shop. I appreciate you. I appreciate your food. It's dang good. And I will continue to shop wherever you're at. I hope you continue to grow. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Bales. My husband and I moved here about 4 years ago and kind of entering the retirement arena. I lived in Denver for most of my life. When I left there, I was CFO of a doctor and several partners. In looking for something, I wanted to try to find something in my retirement. I wasn't really, I was looking around. With my experience, I don't want to say that I'm picky about a job, but I feel I can be. I have all of the experience, and I was looking around. I heard about the greenhouse opening, and I thought, this will be wonderful. I can work part-time in the greenhouse. I love the plants, always have. I spoke with Kayvon for less than 30 minutes, and I've spoken to several people in town, and the integrity that he represents in his business, I was thoroughly convinced. I mean, he didn't ask me for an application. We spoke about my skills and talents, and that was enough for me to approve the job. And we spoke about it, and there were several different areas that I wanted to do, and several that I didn't really want to do. So,
Your minutes, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Kristen Ulrich, and I just wanted to appreciate everybody who's put out such eloquent ideas. Thank you all. Thank you for Mr. Mastis for expressing yourself in the dilemma that you're in. And I'm just going to ask this assembled body, this voting body, not to repeal the ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Ratzliff. I'm a disabled veteran. I moved here right at 2008, but I've been coming to Raton my whole life. We raced horses out at La Mesa. I lived in Ulysses, so it wasn't far. And in that time, I've seen businesses come and go from Raton. If everyone here can remember, that's when stuff started really disappearing here. So I would ask, we've built a relationship with Ramel Family Farms as consumers. I've coached both baseball and soccer in Raton here for a number of years. And just to see better food in the community for the children is a big plus for me and my family. So I'd ask that the commission really examine this agreement with Ramel Family Farms and come to the conclusion that the townspeople want. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's Alan Riley. We've been here about 3 years. Honor your commitments. If you feel he is not honoring his, make him honor his commitments. Honor your commitments. You can't have this whole town not trusting you.
Good evening. My name is Lupita Encinias. I happen to be the daughter of Tony Encinias, who sat where you guys sit for many years and was a visionary for this community and a very strong advocate of new businesses and developing areas that, the city at the time did not really want to develop, but he was pretty charming and charismatic, and he knew how to talk with people and work through solutions and problems. So what I'm here to also ask you to do, also in my father's memory, whose name is out on the front of this building, is to ask you to again reconsider your position in terms of canceling this vital service that we have. I mean, for God's sake, with tariffs coming possibly our way, with products that we normally get from Mexico or from Canada, We have a local farm that is growing nutritious food for our kids, for our community. And I would say, from everybody that's here and who's not willing to, or not able, or doesn't want to stand up, how many of you are in support of Raton Farms? And okay, so you see, that this is a room full of supporters. And we've got a huge majority out here of people who would be willing to stand up and take the 3 minutes of your time. But I don't know that you would have the entire night to be here till midnight. Because you just count how many hands went up. Add those 2 minutes. Okay, so that's showing that this man is doing something positive for our community, and to not look at, he established a timeline, yes, but to not look at how you can renegotiate that to keep this vital business is critical to this community. It is critical. And you, as our commissioners, must listen to us as the people of this community, because we put you there.
My name is Elizabeth Becker, and I might be the newest resident of Raton. I've been here for about a month. And when I came looking, I came up from Vegas, and really couldn't afford the houses in Vegas at this point, and wanted a smaller community with affordable housing. And I came and looked at a house here, a couple of houses. And after I looked at that house, I looked for a couple things around town. One, could I get a good beer? And I'll say the stout at Colfax Ale Cellar. Checked the list, and I checked around town and saw the heirloom shop and that they provided local produce. And I used to be a farmer in what seems like a past life. I had an organic farm, and so local produce is very important to me. So those were two of the things that checked the boxes for me when I decided to move here, and I would really, really hate to see that back on. And I hope y'all can work something out.
Hi, my name is Patrick Haight. My wife and I, Deborah, moved here about 3 years ago. I want to echo some of the sentiments about people who are interested in investing in businesses, opening businesses here. Please work something out. Learn the art of compromise. Maybe be the opposite of our federal government at this point. Get it together, get your heads together, come up with some kind of agreement and work it out. My wife and I, we have a band called the Raton 3. That name is intentional. We consider ourselves ambassadors of the town. We love it here. And we played a big show in Albuquerque about 3 weeks ago in front of 1,000 people at Winrock Park. We talked in between just about every song about how great Raton is. So let's live up to that, okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Kendall. I work at Longfellow Elementary as a first grade teacher. I don't do stuff like this. I'm shaking in my boots, and my watch just warned me that my heart rate's really high for standing still. But that's how important this is to me. I moved to Raton 4 years ago from Denver, a place where you just disappear. And I moved here because I wanted to find community. And the community that I found here is second to none. I love the people I've met in this town, whether they be from out of town or they grew up here. This is a place that supports everybody around them. If I need something, I don't even have to speak the need half the time. Somebody just shows up with it. And that's what I want to see this town do for everybody else. I want to see the fruits and veggies that come into our school fresh from literally steps away from Longfellow, that we get to take our kids there and show them, guys, this is where your food came from. And then Kayvon gives them a talk about how it's grown, and they're literally just oohing and awing over it. Not only are they providing nutritious foods and support for the community, they're inspiring young minds. This is something I do not want to see go away. And the bottom line, guys, is just we want them to stay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one else?
Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, Commissioners. My name is Max Holland. been a resident for right at 4 years now, and I am completely neutral in this issue. When I first saw the comments made yesterday on the community page, and like often happens, there are a lot of comments that may or may not be following the facts. In fact, I spoke to the mayor earlier this morning, and I had 2 questions for him. The first one was, what changed between April the 29th and today? And in listening to Mr. Mestis, it sounds to me there was a fundamental change that occurred. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to ask maybe for questions to be answered.
This time we're just taking public comment.
Thank you, sir.
The next
Thank you, sir.
meeting will answer questions.
Well, we've heard Mr. Mestis, and I'm a big basketball fan, so if I say Mr. Calipari, please take that as a sign of disrespect. But I think I would like to hear his side of the story as well. I would like to see if he challenges anything that Mr. Mestis said. And under any set of circumstances, given the situation, given the popularity of the business among residents, obviously, I would ask when the commission takes a vote that it put this motion on continuance for at least 30 days, maybe even 60 days. If I hesitate to use the word threat. I don't react very well to threats personally myself. But if the side of the story that we heard related from Mr. Mestis is 100% factual, I would have some more questions in my mind. So I would ask that the commission, under these circumstances, let's hear the other side, and if the situation is applicable, that this be tabled under a continuance type situation for another 30 or 60 days. I believe you mentioned that June the 30th was a drop dead date as opposed to June the 1st?
Yes.
Okay, so a little over 30 days from now, so maybe the first meeting in July, continue it until that point in time as far as any final vote on the issue. So I'm here more to gather information. I've heard one side, I'd like to hear the other. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
It would be impossible to talk.
If I call you Coach.
That's okay. Coach K. Another coach. Kayvon Calamari. There's no way in 3 minutes that I could tell you the history of the last 4 years and the trouble that I've had getting clarification from the city on very important parts of this agreement. You know, Rick listed the demands that I made, call them demands, sure. They got that far because for 3+ years, I had been asking the city to clarify very important aspects of that agreement that either justify or don't the expenditures that he says I didn't make, the jobs I didn't hire. I boiled all my frustrations down, which were numerous, dozens of frustrations and irregularities between what Scott Berry, the ex-city manager, promised me with those agreements, promised me the intent of those agreements, and what Rick is reading them as. I've boiled those all down to 3 at the last meeting. They were that I wanted to make sure that I could purchase the building after 5 years, which is May 2026, because there is other language of 10 years in that agreement. I think Rick agrees with that one. I need to know what I can write off to the value, the purchase of that building, right? The appraisal that they got, which is a farce, and that's my third point, was like $1.3 million for a Class B warehouse and office space that literally had dead raccoons and cats in it when we moved in, swimming pools from all the holes in the roofs. This is not Class B space. I asked for that to be revised. It was never presented to the appraisal company. The last thing I asked for was, again, what can I write off against the value of the purchase of that building? In one agreement, it says wages and it says sales tax. In another, it says capital expenses, but it doesn't say capital expenses in the lease, in the one that's really writing this purchase option. Why would I put $500,000, $1 million into fixing up a building when I'm gonna have to pay that $500,000, that $1 million again when I purchase it from the city? Because I don't know that those capital improvements can be written off. I tried to talk to this man for 2 years about this. I sent Scott Berry an amendment to clarify this when he was still city manager. I talked to Rick before he was hired, and I sent this agreement to him on day one when he took office. And I've been ignored every day since for 18 months or however long you've been. And you can argue that. You like to do that last time. I have tried. I've been patient. People see my frustration boiling over. This hasn't been how I've acted. I have been incredibly patient with this city for 3 years, trying to get clarification, not making demands, getting clarification on these things, and they have completely ignored me. Lindy has been the only one up here to show me any respect and help and try to support this process and mediate this process. And I gotta tell you, the heirloom is tied to the farm. It's in the original presentation. Lindy said it was, and you refused to accept that, and that's unfortunate. Scott Berry said El Raton was also included. Yes, it is, and you were here too, Mayor. And I gotta tell you, they are tied because if this property gets stripped away from us and I lose over $1 million of value that we've invested in that business, the heirloom shop will close. El Raton Theater will never open, and God knows what's gonna happen to the Traders Building and Zia Youth, because I will not continue to invest in a town that doesn't appreciate me. Either that or when you're gone. This guy, I've never had a conversation with him and he hates my guts. And I gotta hear it from everybody in town. What kind of commissioner is this? Give me a break.
That's bad form, bro.
Hey, you know what's bad form is that guy right there. Yeah, it's colors.
My name is Paul Jenkins. I'm the president of a nonprofit known as the Raton CDC, long form, the Raton Community Development Collaborative. Our primary purpose is to improve the quality of life in Raton. It's been my great pleasure to work with the city manager on a number of issues on improving that quality of life. I don't know the owner of the Raton Family Shops, but it seems to me that there's also something of value in what he has created. Like the speaker over here, I would suggest that perhaps rather than moving expeditiously in enacting this ordinance, this would be a time to find out where the middle ground might be obtained. We need to preserve our responsibilities as a city. We also need to reserve the economic growth that's taking place. Perhaps the city mayor, city pro tem mayor, Mr. Mestis and Kayvon can join together in some type of meeting to work out a solution to this dilemma. It seems to me that to do otherwise poses too great a risk to our future as a community, and that this is the only reasonable approach that we can afford to take in the best interest of our community.
Hello, my name is Sarah Reed. My family and I moved to Raton in August of 2022. I'm absolutely in love with this town. It's been fantastic for my family. I can let my children ride their bikes. We moved up from Austin. It's been incredible. It has been absolutely incredible living here. I'm involved right now with a project to try and turn the old Comcast building into the Raton art space, and that property into a community garden in the back with an orchard. And I say that only to demonstrate that I would really like to be a citizen who helps to bring value and positive things to Raton. I am so incredibly excited to try and bring art and gardening and a community space for all ages to this city, this town. I also just watched my daughter come into here and be here for the proclamation for Lemonade Day. She's going to be a small business owner, if only for a day, in the town of Raton. And I say that to emphasize that I think it should be a very understanding, mutual working relationship for small businesses and this city, because everyone stands to benefit to build Raton up. And small business owners who make incredible impacts are really essential to that. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm Connie Gianolis. I wasn't going to speak because I hate public speaking, but I feel like I have to. I moved here from Denver 7 years ago and followed my parents, Tim Gianolis, which you guys might know. He's opening the Raton Community Arts Center as well. He's an important man. I came here thinking, what the Raton? What is that? And I fell in love. I fell in love with this town. It's a community. I found a job at the Raton Veterinary Hospital. That's a family to me. I've been there for 6 years now. When I met Kayvon, I walked into his store, and as an animal lover, he has his dog sitting right there. I thought, this guy's fantastic, and sat there and talked to his dog. And then I saw, oh my God, he has food that I've been trying to find in Raton. I said, I love Raton, but oh, I miss Natural Grocers, I miss all these places, and I meet this wonderful human that was in tears just now. That is where he's at. This is his life. This is his life. And he loves this town. And to see that man walk away with tears in his eyes, that should say something. I know it says something to all these people in this building. I've only met him a few times. My father, Tim Gianolis, has met him, worked with him several times, and adores the man because he is a good human. And if you guys don't see a good human, then I don't know what you're doing here. And I'm sorry, but I am passionate when I see a man like that in tears. And it upsets me to the core because he's a good human, and I know one when I see one, and he is one. And if you guys don't come to an agreement, I don't think that we're going to be too thrilled. And I'll tell you, my daughters won't be too thrilled because one of our favorite things to do is to go grocery shopping in his shop because it's natural food. And 111 Park, their salads are my favorite. Where do you think they get them? Rammel Farms. So I just figured I should probably share my opinion as my husband, the decorated veteran, did.
Anyone else?
Hello, Commissioners, the City Manager, and Desiree Trujillo, City County Clerk. Thank you for the opportunity for all of us to address you. I'm here as a solutions-oriented person. I'm going to give some legal background to what I'm saying. The agenda for today's meeting includes introduction of an ordinance to repeal an ordinance number 1013, designated as a Family Farms Leader Project ordinance. This step appears to follow a letter dated May 21st, 2025 from City Manager Rick Mistis to Mr. Calabar Lamaki, in which the manager accepts Mr. Calabar's verbal intention to terminate the underlying agreements, quote unquote. By placing repeal on today's public hearing calendar without fuller context, the city invites another fortnight of intense uncertainty, 2 weeks until the next city commission meeting, which is going to all be recorded on digital media for the entirety of the digital footprint that the city of Raton exists under. This isn't about questioning the logic or the communications missteps that led via both parties, City of Raton and Rammel Family Farms, into the situations. It's about ensuring that the public record is clear. We need official clarifications either via public testimony or a city-sanctioned publication addressing 1, the state law and PPA compliance. Does accepting a, quote, verbal intention via a letter only signed by one member of city staff violate the LIDA statute of frauds or the contract's written amendments or termination clauses, even though the city can amend an ordinance outside of state-mandated LIDA contracts? 2, authority and signatures. Was this letter a sole staff communication on a commissioner matter, given that no city attorney countersigned or reviewed the last letter sent to Mr. Calipari leading into the city commission agenda item? 3, with city attorney involvement, what, if any, legal advice or review did the city attorney provide regarding the manager's letter and its purported effect? Without these clarifications, stakeholders in and outside of Raton will spend 2 more weeks speculating rather than focusing on productive development. Legal implications. The New Mexico Open Meetings Act of NMSA of 1978, Section 1015(1)D requires agendas to state action items with reasonable specificity. Labeling this repeal under a generic city manager's report fails that test and risks invalidating any vote tonight, maybe not under a legal premise, but under the public eye. Like I said, there's going to be 2 more weeks before there's another city commission meeting in which this is all going to be speculated online with very little public idea of what's actually listed in the LIDA agreement as being validated by the city versus validated by the private business that's signed under the LIDA contract. LIDA PPAs or project participation agreements under New Mexico are state-monitored written contracts. Both the statute of frauds and the agreement itself mandate that terminations be in writing and signed by all parties. Public comments cannot substitute for formal written amendments to any LIDA contract, which is separate from the ordinance that allows this to be a LIDA project under the City of Raton. Only the City Commission, typically acting on the City Attorney's advice, can amend or terminate LIDA agreements. A standalone letter from the City Manager of May 21st may not preemptively by itself create exclusive contractual authority, but it does give a public notion of it, given the fact that that letter from May 21st has been released to the public. Today's repeal item was posted on May 23rd, 2025, just 4 days before this hearing. In a county without an official newspaper, many rely on Facebook groups like Raton Community Page and Best of Colfax County for news. This compressed timeline undermines broad public engagement, particularly for Colfax residents outside Raton who are also invested in Rammel Family Farm's success, and also invites more gossip for the next 2 weeks. So I have 5 targeted recommendations, again, from a solutions-oriented perspective. First, you postpone today's hearing on whether or not to introduce a public hearing on this within the next 2 weeks of City Commission meetings. Relist this matter, perhaps, on the next City Commission agenda as action on City Manager's letter regarding LIDA agreement termination, since this was the last released letter regarding this to the public, whether it was voluntarily or not released to the public, with this given at least 72 hours notice and detailed description. 2, commission on a city attorney opinion. Direct the attorney of the city to issue a written legal opinion that can be publicized on the legality of any verbal termination under LIDA and the PPA, given the last however amount of time that verbal conversations have been happening without any written LIDA amendments. Also, direct the attorney to issue a written legal opinion on the city manager's authority versus commission authority and whether the manager's letter complied with the Open Meetings Act. 3, implement a robust communications protocol. Require legal review and attorney counter-signature on any correspondence affecting city contracts. And publish key notices on the city's official website with subscriber alerts and on high-traffic digital community platforms such as the Facebook pages I described. And 4, notify state oversight. Inform the New Mexico Economic Development Department in writing of any proposed contract terminations to preserve state funding or compliance, whether that be through the LIDA agreement or or an ordinance by the city. This isn't an exercise in bureaucratic delay. It's about upholding the rule of law and preserving a form of public trust. When a small city gains a reputation for unilateral, unvetted actions, it jeopardizes both its legal footing and its capacity to attract and retain investments. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. My name is Kurt Wallach. I'm a business partner along with my wife of Kayvon's. We live in Trinidad. And the first thing that I want to touch on is how far-reaching the farm goes. Us being in Trinidad, it goes up there, and as you know, it gets fresh food down there and here and all around the area and all around northern New Mexico and all around southern Colorado, and how much that's changed the landscape for everyone and had good, fresh food for us to be able to get. So that's just the first thing I want to impress upon y'all. And I know that someone had mentioned how proud they were about going to Las Vegas and seeing the produce there coming from where they live and being like, hey, that's nice, that represents us. So that's the first thing I want to touch on. Secondly, as you all know, and hearing Kayvon speak tonight, he's a very passionate guy. And I know that y'all are super passionate about where you're at, and that's what put you in these seats. And sometimes those passions can grind against one another. And it's important to put that all aside and just come together for the greater good and mediate past these things and just do the best thing you can for the folks around you and their well-being and for good, fresh food around here and for cool spots like the Heirloom Shop and things like that. They bring people here. They make people want to move to these spaces. And it's such a wide-reaching thing to bring young folks here and bring retirees here and bring folks here who are going to be proud to live around here and to spread the good word of northern New Mexico and southern Colorado. Also, along with that passion, Kayvon's one of the smartest guys that I've ever met, both all about business, and he puts his money where his mouth is, and he gets things done. And it's really, really rare to meet someone who has that business acumen and has the history that he has and puts his money where his mouth is and is an agent for good change and is not working only in his own interest, but is working for everyone around him and trying to bring up communities like this. And we're so lucky to have him in the area. And I know that there's so many other areas like us, rural areas around the nation, that would just be over the moon to have someone like Kayvon come and invest their time and their business acumen and intelligence into the communities and not ask for really a ton in return. And that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we're going to close the public hearing part, and we will hear from commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Honeyfield. Commissioner Giacomo. Commissioner Schuster.
Well, as was stated, I was at that May 9th meeting, and what I saw was some emotions that were overly high, over the top. And that on both sides, not just Mr. Calabari. But I think that we need to consider the procedures, and as Nico stated, I'm not sure the procedures that have been done so far have been within recommended protocol. So I strongly recommend that we relook at it, that we take the advice of using mediation process. Mr. Mark Roper from New Mexico Economic Development has offered assistance in that process. He has some good suggestions, and I believe that we would be very unwise to ignore his advice. He can also assist in finding a trained negotiator to help us in this process, and I believe that's the right way to go. The state has the resources for us to accomplish a legitimate, fair, and responsible mediation. Because I believe, from what I can see, and I'm not going to enumerate them, there are errors on both sides. But I think we need to be careful in considering that and thinking that it's a one-sided event here, because I don't believe it is. So I'm going to continue to strongly recommend that we pursue a mediator. And Mr. Roper is on vacation for the next week. I've been in constant communication with him, but he is willing to be here and work on this so that it goes smoothly. That's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I always appreciate people's input. I do feel some things are misrepresented. You can't hear me? No. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I very much appreciate your input. I feel that some things are misrepresented, and it's hard when you start to feel like the city is the bad guy and you're the little guy, and that kind of tension arises. I don't think it's a good place to work through things. I was not at the meeting, and I was not there to witness that. But I have carefully read through the LEDA agreement. There are a few things that even if we read them very generously, there are a few things that are ambiguous, but with the generous reading, even then, I don't know that all the metrics have been met. Irregardless, I feel like it is, as you all have said, there are some very good things for our community there. I don't think anyone here wants to make small businesses or any businesses feel like they're not welcome in Raton. I think we've worked hard as a commission to try to get people here, to try to work with people. So it's hard for me to hear that there's rumors in the community that we are, terrible with businesses and things like that. No one has come to me and said that. Everyone's always welcome to contact me directly. And I feel like there could be a consideration for more communication with Ramel Family Farms. I think that could be a good option moving forward. This is just an introduction of an ordinance. It's not passing an ordinance. It's not voting to approve the ordinance. It's not severing anything. It could actually open up the door to have a conversation, but just my general feelings. I'm also a very analytical person. I like to have some time to process everything, and I've been traveling the last couple weeks, so it makes it a little more difficult to just be faced with such a lot of opinions at once. So that's my comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. As for myself, I'm going to just be brief. We do have signed agreement. Regardless of what was said earlier, we have a signed PPA. It's all been signed by the correct officials. It's all right here. It's available to anyone through an EPRA request. You just come and make a request. Anyone can look at them. Question was brought up about the heirloom shop being part of the agreement. The heirloom shop is not mentioned in any of these signed agreements. If Mr. Calabari had wanted that intent when he was reviewing these before he signed them, he should have pointed that out. That's standard contract reading. If there's something missing, make sure it's there. And as Mayor Pro Tem has stated, it's tough to sit up here and say we don't want to encourage business. I think we've done a pretty good job here. He's using a building, has been for 4 years, lease-free. We're not charging him a thing for it. We spent $700,000 of our capital outlay money to build the greenhouse, not charging him lease for that. All he is responsible for is the utilities, which he didn't start paying until 2023. We're not trying to close a business. We're trying to have someone honor the agreement. Both sides. As Mayor Pro Tem said, this agreement, very ambiguous in spots. There is time to sit and talk. But at no time have we ever approached Mr. Calabrese saying, we are shutting you down. At no time have we ever said that. That's all I have. Okay, like I said, this was just a public hearing, introduction of an ordinance.
So for a point of clarification, if I might ask, when you say you're not trying to shut it down, but you're saying you're repealing the ordinance.
What's the difference?
I mean, it's not congruent to me.
We're
It's
repealing the
incongruent
ordinance.
at this, because you're saying you're repealing. You wanted to present it, an introduction to repeal the ordinance number 1013.
Ordinance number 1013 is the LEDA agreement. It's the ordinance for the LEDA agreement that we have with him. We're not saying, that doesn't mean he has to shut down. It's just saying we're not going to continue with this arrangement. If he wants to buy the property, and he can do that. We're not going to give them City of Raton property.
It's just that it was confusing when you said that, you weren't trying to, shut this process down when the word is repealing means that you are going to shut it down.
We're repealing the agreement, not the business. We're repealing the agreement.
Greens don't have a lot of overhead.
That's all right. I'll figure it out.
I'm making much of that salad.
Okay. We ready to move on?
I'd like to make a motion to postpone the introduction of ordinance repealing ordinance number 1013 pertaining to the adoption of Raton Family Farms LLC as an economic development project in lieu of time to have negotiations. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to postpone the introduction until we have a time to possibly have some mediation. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you.
Desiree, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Sagata,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chatterley,
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster,
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo, and Commissioner Honeyfield.
All right. Item C, public hearing, deliberate and act on an affordable housing ordinance number 1030 to implement the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan, which addresses affordable housing in the city of Raton. Mr. Messes.
Mayor and Commission, this ordinance is adopted to implement the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan, which addresses affordable housing in the city of Raton. In accordance with New Mexico Constitution, Article 9, Section 14, the Affordable Housing Act, New Mexico State,
Excuse me. We're moving on to business now, folks. If you want to have a conversation, please remove yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Article 9, Section 14 of the Affordable Housing Act, New Mexico Statutes 1978, Section 627-1, the Act. The rules of the purpose of the Affordable Housing Ordinance is among several items to preliminary established procedures to ensure that local housing assistance grantees are qualified grantees who meet the requirements of the Act and the rules promulgated pursuant to the Act, both at the time and the award and throughout the term of any grant or loan under the program. Establish an application and award timetable for local housing assistance, grants or loans to permit the selection of qualified grantee by the city. Require long-term affordability of the city's affordable housing projects so that a project cannot be sold shortly after the completion and taken out of the affordable housing market. The city recommends that you vote in the affirmative on this action.
Questions, comments from Mr. Mestis?
This is just part of the, sorry. I would say that this is just part of the moving this forward so that we're able to work with affordable housing. When I went through it, it looks very boilerplate. Is it from MFA perhaps, or state document, or North
I
Central?
believe North Central did help the county write this
Okay, so the county.
document.
How much of an administrative burden is this for us? Because it looks like the city plays a pretty significant part in fiscal agent role of this.
I believe that the burden on the city will be done via other agencies, such as the county and the housing folks. So, we don't have a housing office in the city. So, we work, they're kind of our surrogates to do things.
And I can kind of address that. There is a housing coordinator with North Central and non-metro. They will do the majority of the work.
That's my question.
I'll make a motion to adopt the Affordable Housing Ordinance number 1030 to implement the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan, which addresses affordable housing in the city of Raton.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any further discussion? Yes, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Sagata?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chatterley?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yeah.
And Commissioner Honeyfield?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, item D, public hearing. Deliberate and act on ordinance number 1031 and ordinance amending ordinance number 1018, water and sewer rates, amending chapter 53.036, water rates, and section 53.0.39, application for water service, raising construction water rates. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is an ordinance that amends Chapter 53.036, water rates, is amended to read, construction water, hydrant or manifold meter, fixed charge per meter, $50 per month, and $12.50 per 1,000 gallons. And
you can't shut the doors.
No, please. Thank you.
It's a public hearing.
An ordinance that amends Section 53039, application for water service, raising construction water rates, is amended to read, hydrant or manifold reader, non-potable, a $900 cash deposit and $100 fee shall be made with each hydrant or manifold meter owned by the water utility and checked out by authorized contractors. Only utility-owned meters are allowed to be connected to the water utility. And this was from the Water Board.
Mr. Mayor, just a note, if I may. I believe when we discussed this, it hadn't been updated since 1981, and even the construction services said it was time. So, and it's only construction water. I just want to be very clear. There's no other rate raises at this time.
Any other comments, questions? Entertain a motion.
I would move to approve ordinance number 1031, amending ordinance number 1018, water and sewer rates, amending chapter 53.036, water rate, and section 53.039, applications of water service, raising construction water rates.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please, Dennis.
Mayor Sagata?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chatterley?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo? And Commissioner Honeyfield.
Item E, presentation, Raton Main Street and the Center for Community Innovation for the Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institute and Entrepreneurial Boot Camp. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, this presentation has been postponed due to an illness.
Thank you.
We're sorry Bonnie's sick, but yes.
Item F, presentation, Skillsharp biannual report by Center for Community Innovation, Executive Director Patricia Duran. Ms. Duran.
All right, good evening, Commission. I am here to give our biannual update on our Skillsharp program that is funded by a subcontract with the City of Raton. When I first gave this report back in October, we had just hired Anita Verdeen as our part-time administrator. The year before, we had secured a match of $20,000 from a grant to make that position full-time, and that was when Bianca Patterson was running it. Well, we did apply for grants. We applied for a handful, and we did not receive any. So at present, the job is still part-time. However, with that being said, we are staying pretty consistent in our numbers, having only a part-time position. So just a few highlights. We have 352 active users on our Skillsharp and Metrics program. With a 10% increase, we were able to register 36 new participants within the last 6 months from, let me make sure this is right, from September to March. So we've had a bunch more between April and now. With those metrics as well, we have about out of the 352 people that are registered on our program, they log in at least 1.5 times per average per month to do their training. So that's really good. It's really increasing. A lot more certifications have been coming up. We have had in total since July 2024, we have had 200 certifications given. So, and those all include things like Excel, HR professional courses, QuickBooks, administrative professionals, medical coding, as well as we have had a big increase in digital marketing and project management. So those are the certifications that we've been giving out. Last November, we did deliver a training to the New Mexico State Parks, which they were supposed to come here to do their training, but because of the weather, we had to do our training via Zoom. But we had about 68 people participate in that Zoom, where we gave professional training on phone etiquette, email etiquette, how to communicate well with state government officials as well as with the public and with each other. It was really, really well received, and then we did have a couple of those state parks representatives register and some employees. We also had one of our big notable successes is we had one client. She's working on her administrative certification to become an administrative worker. She has been doing housekeeping work for years and years and years and years, and she decided it is time for a change, so she started taking courses, and right now she's completed 44 of the 117 certifications. So it's been really great to have that. Well, like I said, we also have been clients in QuickBooks and Excel. We also have been providing a lot of entrepreneurial support for a lot of our business owners and future business owners through the RMMFI and B-Side Fund program, where we're giving them an opportunity to learn about digital design, marketing. They've never done things like that before. They're maybe taking over businesses that don't utilize that, so they're taking those classes. So really excited to have those. With last but not least, for HiSET. So we run our HiSET program where we proctor people to take tests. There are 5 tests to get their high school equivalency testing. We partnered with Luna Community College to provide that free test prep. So we've had a really great increase, far more exponential than what we've had in the past. Join our program. Right now we have 16 learners. Right now 7 are active. They're taking their tests, they're studying, they're doing their essential ed with Luna Community College to get that work trained. We did have a 19-year-old complete their HiSET in 6 months. So that was really exciting. We had 1 graduate, and then we're having a lot of 30-year-olds come into us who for some reason, they just happen to not get their high school diploma. And so we're helping start them out. And the way that our process works is with our intake program, we have them take a pre-test
to see where they score on all of the subjects. And if they score great, we have them take those tests first, and then the ones that they score the lowest, we put them in through Luna Community College to do all the training. So at present, we have one of our success stories, like I said, is the 19-year-old. He plans to get a CDL. And then we have a 22-year-old student right now. She's balancing work, parenthood, and pregnancy. She's passed 3 tests. And so this was all been within the last few months. And so it's taken some time to get those tests going, but now that I'm assuming we're gonna have a lot more graduations this summer and in the fall. And that is all that I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Questions?
I think it's great work. So you gave us some different ages. Are you guys finding that it's middle age, lower age?
It's like, I would say a good majority start coming to us 16 to like 20. And then it jumps from there to like 30 to almost 50 sometimes. And so usually the older folks, because they're working as well, so it's harder to get them to come in, have the free time. They have children, they have families to be able to go in and test. But for the most part, I would say the 30-year-olds, now we're having a big chunk of them come in, and it's been exciting to get them excited. You know, they've been waitressing their whole lives. They're like, I can't go up, I can't do anything, how can you help me? And so being able to sit there and say, hey, we know you're accomplished, let's help you get through this, and we'll hold your hand while you do it. So it's been really great.
I really appreciate you all implementing this workforce program. And it sounds like you haven't been successful with grants, but you still have, city funding that gets you partway there. But we definitely appreciate this program in our community for workforce.
Absolutely. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, item G, deliberate and act on cooperative marketing agreement, a co-op between the State of New Mexico Tourism Department, City of Raton, and Colfax County. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a letter stating that the New Mexico Legislature appropriated funds to New Mexico Tourism Department for the purpose of carrying out the duties of the department, which include providing a coordinated statewide perspective with regard to tourism activities. And the Tourism Department desires to coordinate this effort through cooperative programs with matching funds for certain tourism-related nonprofit organizations, local and tribal government. The city wishes to leverage the New Mexico True brand with advertising and media-related services provided by the Tourism Department to stimulate tourism activities and is willing to contribute funds to further the party's efforts to that effect. The state is providing $24,741, while the county and the city will split the total partner match of $8,247 or $4,123.50 each. The city recommends you vote in the affirmative on this action.
Questions, comments for Mr. Mestis? I'm assuming this is lodger's tax funds?
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Motion to approve the cooperative marketing agreement between the State of New Mexico Tourism Department, City of Raton, and Colfax County for our share of $4,123.50.
Motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item H. Another public hearing, Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP, for fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 31. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is the Infrastructural Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP, FY 27 through FY 31. Some of the items that we wish to add include a multi-use city hall apartment building for $75 million, Roundhouse Park improvements for $10 million, and Al Portel lot improvements for $750,000. I turn it over to you.
Over here. This is a public hearing. This time we'll take in any comments from the public on what we are listing as our top concerns and needs. Anyone wishing to address us at this time may do so.
We have the city manager repeat the top items.
Sure.
Okay, there's a difference between items that we're introducing, which I just read, and the top items. The top items are Lake Maloya Dam safety improvements for $30 million, drainage and storm drain system improvements for $1.7 million, Raton Depot multimodal renovation for $2 million, Raton Animal Shelter replacement for $1 million, solid waste equipment, I'm sorry, there's nothing there, and the photovoltaic array and storage for 3.1 million. I would like to remind the commission that was it 2 million, Jason? That, or Jaden?
Yeah, it was just right around 2 million or just over with the match.
Yeah, so, but however, that's still on hold right now.
We're waiting to find out the result. Every time we contact them, they say, hold tight, hold tight.
And so, building improvements, monument sign, and a water storage tank. Those round out the top 10. And the three we'd like to put in are a multi-use city hall, mixed-use apartment building, 75 million. That's just kind of a stab. Roundhouse Park improvements for 10 million, and El Portal Law improvements for 750,000.
Any other comments? Commissioners?
I made a few comments with Brennan. So the animal shelter replacement that's listed as number 4 for 2026, that million, is that, did we already receive that?
We received,
Additional million.
because of construction costs, we're
Going to keep that on there
we're
as
gonna
is.
keep on
Okay.
as a million.
And I know this is just a prioritized list. This is not a request list or anything like that. This
And
is
we've
just.
received 200 and, is it 65,000 or?
It was 180 and then I think
25?
we're right around 300,000.
Yeah, and we're using that to build a quarantine area for potentially sick animals.
My other comments were in 2028, number 1, the Roundhouse Park Trail System. I think and that maybe that's part of the Roundhouse improvements, but that trail system really, it gets heavy use, especially by older residents, and it really does need resurfacing. So I would find that to be a bigger priority. In 2030, number 4, the Sugar Canyon State Park Visitor Center. Since we already have some of that funding started, we may consider moving that up higher, since we had a $2 million capital outlay for that. And then 2030, number 10, the Bartlett Mesa Recreation Area Development. I would suggest that we categorize that as an open space development, since Bartlett Mesa will be managed by Game and Fish at this point, and we will not be spending funds for that. And I think keeping it at that date is absolutely fine, but just taking out the Bartlett Mesa part of that, because eventually the plan would be for us to have the Buck Ridge property, and so that would be just an open space general term. Those would be my first look inputs there. And I guess also 2027, number 3, Civic Plaza construction. It was my understanding that that was also related to the El Portal, so we might want to rename it if that's the wish of the staff and the commission.
The wish of the commission. We'll do whatever you want.
Because I think it was originally just put as a general Civic Plaza construction, but it was intended to be, so if we're doing El Portal, adding it on here somewhere to 750K, we might just change the amount and change that for 2027, number 3.
Yeah, this is a living document. It's subject to change. We want to categorize things. I would say this year is the year that we really hit the Maloya Dam safety improvements. There is a $400 million excess for state water projects, dam projects. We need to tap into that this year.
Is that through Water Trust Board?
Water Trust Board, it got 200 million. State got an additional 200 million. We need to hit Water Trust Board.
The studies have been completed.
Everything's been done. We just need the funding.
There is actually
Studies, design, everything is done. It's ready to rock it. It's dirt ready. Any other comments?
I would concur with Mayor Pro Tem on the El Portal site, though. that just kind of looks like we're half
Yeah.
done. on
They need something.
Yeah, it needs something.
What's the plan for that site?
We had approved a plan for kind of an open park area. Man, it's been over a year ago, a couple of years ago.
About a year ago, when we
over a year.
Yep.
Plan had given us 3 designs, and then we had.
All we had at the time was
input.
money to get the design done, and now we need money to get it done.
Even if it's just grass.
3 plans I don't recall.
Yeah,
There was a public input meeting,
Yeah, we
and
had-
one of them
we
was,
chose the one, it kind of has a bunch of things.
but to me, just anything, even if it's grass at this point, is gonna be better than what we have. I feel like in our next work session, we could talk about that perhaps and make sure we're
I
all in the
think
same.
Jason's gonna talk about some park improvements maybe later.
Right, and I mean, you know, Alportel doesn't have irrigation, so if we're talking grass, I mean, that was more of a conversation about native grasses, just something to hold back erosion, look better, and water, which would be tough to get started in its own right. But our plans that we received are more conceptual than design ready, and we have no allocated funding for moving forward with that. The solid waste vehicles, I want to say off the top of my head, should have had a line item of 200,000. That's probably a glitch in the ICIP system, and that's for future trash truck replacement or the wheel loader at the solid waste facility. It's something that the state kind of likes to fund. You can get them bought within a year and get it off their books. I don't know if y'all saw, there was another investigative report on the billions of dollars that are unspent because they're allocated for funding and it's not enough to go forward. Kind of like the animal shelter, you ask for $1 million, get 100,000. You can do design with that or make small improvements, but you never get there. The Alportel, I mean, we can leave the Civic Plaza in case that's a path that we want to, you know, chase money on parallel paths. And if we could get the housing mixed-use development, that would be great, but we have a backup in a separate line item. The system isn't really intuitive about changing the names or stuff, so if we want to create one. You mentioned Buck Ridge, Lori, and I do not recall if it's on the ICIP in any form, so that might be something that the commission might want to think about adding, whether it's management plan, acquisition, however you'd like to word it. And remember, you know, a lot of this stuff is now 6 years out. We're talking about, what, the 27 to 31 ICIP. So if we haven't targeted a funding source for things like City Hall and that, it's important to get it on there because it's a long-range planning document, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these things are going to happen, that we have funding available, you know, I mean, but it's the first question on the survey. Is it on your ICIP? Yes, it is. Here's the ranking. You know, ultimately, in each legislative session, the top 5 matter, and really you get a phone call in the 12th hour about what's your number 1 or 2 priority, and that conversation kind of dictates where the legislatures send their money, and it's kind of at their whim. There wasn't a lot of love for the animal shelter, $1 million last year, but we got a visitor center that was ranked farther down the list. So, you know, they have the power and they sprinkle what they can of love our way, but we do use it in CDBG and other documents. You know, we always highlight it's on the ICIP where it is. So even if there's, you know, something more of an idea that you think might be 4 years out, now's a good time to put it on there. It kind of establishes that date in the system of when we started discussing it. But they also warn you, it's not a master plan. If you don't intend to come through the select funding sources, that ICIP is a priority. Don't fill it through a project, nothing less than $50,000 to go on an ICIP. That's just more internal discussion.
Do we have general park improvements on here somewhere?
I believe we do have general park improvements in there.
There it is.
We keep a placeholder for general city buildings where we can go for the convention center, city hall stabilization, those types of tasks. We have some generic items that just stay on there. And a lot of the stuff is phased, like public works, storm drainage. It's 1.7 million, but we take 500,000, do 10 inlets, come back next year and ask for more.
All right, any other questions, comments? We'll move on. Item I, deliberate and act on event forms. We're going to do these two at a time here. Raton Main Street Independence Day Festival and Parade, July 4th, and the Raton Little League All-Stars Tournaments, June 13th through 16th and June 20th through 27th. What do you got for us?
Mayor and Commission, in your packet are event forms, scope of work, statements, and certificates of liability for both of the statements. The city should vote on these individually, and we recommend approval.
Motion to approve the Raton Main Street Independence Day Festival and Parade July 4th.
I'll second.
Motion second to approve Main Street Independence Day Festival. Questions? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I will move to approve the Little League All-Stars Tournament, June 13th through the 16th and June 20th through the 27th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Raton Little League All-Stars Tournament, June 13th, 16th, and June 20th through the 27th. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, deliberate and act on Lodgers Tax Advisory Board recommendations. We have 4, International Santa Fe Balloon Rally by Raton Main Street, Gate City Music Festival by Raton Main Street, Phillips Broadcasting by Rick Newrotter, KRDO TV by Sheila C. Bloom. Mr. Mistis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet are recommendations from the largest tax for $7,357.11 to be awarded to Raton Main Street for the International Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally, for KRTN ads and remote KCRT ads, Raton Visitor Guide, T-shirts, brochure, posters, sanitation, fire protection, and swag bag for the pilots and sponsors. Did you want to vote on these individually or collectively?
I'd like to do them all at once.
Okay. The next one is Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is recommending to the City Commission that $21,555.43 be awarded to Raton Main Street for the Gate City Music Festival, for the website, social media, advertising, Raton Visitors Guide posters, and tent rental. $371.16 from Digital Media Fund, $18,427.39. Sorry, it's late. From Annual Events Fund, and $2,756.88 from the Contingency Fund. The Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is also recommending to the City Commission that $7,890 be awarded to Phillips Broadcasting for 1,052 total ads, bonus 521 ads total, bonus link to website radio coverage on 3 radio stations, and the bonus of 81 ads and for a visit to Raton and the fall colors. And finally, the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is recommending to the City Commission that $3,085 be awarded to KRDO TV for 98 TV commercials advertising Gate City Music Festival and 32 commercials advertising the International Santa Fe Trail Balloon Rally, $750 from the Contingency Fund from this fiscal year for the ads dated June 27th through July 5th, and $2,335 from the Contingency Fund next fiscal year for ads dated July 7th and August 3rd. The city recommends that you approve all of these.
All right, I see we have representation from Main Street. You guys want to say anything, or?
You guys are doing good.
You guys are tired.
So are you. If you want us to, we will.
Questions?
I have one question. I'm just confused about the amount, because on the inside, there's a correction that it's 7,057, but on the front it has 7,357.11.
Yes, the board actually approved the 7,057.
Okay.
Because KRTN is paying for half the sponsorship, so $300 will come off of their total advertisement.
Thank you so much. And just a statement that even though it's free and I don't charge to do the Gate City website, I do pass along the hosting fees, so I will just abstain, just to be transparent there.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I can tell you that they worked hard at adding and subtracting and making sure that this balanced in the budget. So I would move to approve the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board recommendations.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion?
Michael, let's confirm there is adequate money for this.
Yes.
Any other questions? All in favor, vote by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item K, deliberate and act on quote from American Ramp Company for additional skate park elements utilizing Sourcewell procurement. Mr. Meston.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a quote to upgrade the skate ramps for Optimus Park. The $16,561.90 and the $33,625.44 are coming out of the general fund.
Questions, comments? Jason, you got anything?
Yes, I will be brief, which I know is hard for me.
Yeah.
Essentially, we'll do a quick parks update. So the commission has already approved a certain half pipe. In talking with skate park professionals as well as local skaters, its height would be better suited to a growing population and less intermediate skill level if we were to expand it. So that's the $16,000 cost. The other 5 features are what they call a street run, and they would this would basically we were attempting to build this in Romero Park at a previous slab that was a tennis court. Upon review of the skate ramp company, that is not suitable. So the pump track is fine there. We'll leave that at Romero Park. We'll shift this to an unused portion of the existing slab at Optimus Park, saving about $100,000 in concrete construction. And I've got a previously approved budget for parks improvement. Adding the $50,000 to this, it doesn't create a skate park that people are going to travel around the world for. This is a local quality of life type of skate park. We'd be into about $150,000. 100 of that's grant money, but it's something for the kids that, you know, people I talk to say, yeah, no, that's a nice little setup. You know, so with the $50,000 I have remaining, we would probably go back to Romero Park with to do kind of our intended improvements. A lot of that is grass, playground improvements. The pump track will go there, and then we'll do a shade structure. That all still happens. This is kind of an addition. It's money that's already budgeted, but it is a change order in the amount of $50,187.34, tax inclusive, and it'd come out of a line item we have. Unfortunately, it's probably a re-budget because this is generally 6 months lead time on these components. So it's a line item we have in this year's budget that we'll need to carry over into next year's. But I do think, you know, for the shoestring budget that we have, it makes great improvements at Romero Park, makes significant improvement at Optimus Park. I think it'll be widely used, and you know, they have a 10-year shelf life. If in that 10 years we see a skate community that shows it, I'll keep chasing money to build a better park with state dollars in the future. But I think we need to establish a need, a usage pattern, those things before anybody will entertain that. They've been talking about for a skate park for 20 years. You know, we guys always say we need to get something done. This is getting something done. So.
We appreciate it.
Questions, comments?
Do you think we can change the name to Optimus Prime Park?
Possibly. There are no options. If you want to name it after Jason, we'll just call it Pessimist Park.
Pessimist Skate Park in the middle of Optimus Park.
I will say this, I volunteered to go down the slide at the pool when it opened and did that. I will not volunteer to do the half.
I'm a little past my prime too, but I hear Jaden is an excellent skater.
All right, right on. Okay, any other questions?
The next item is mine too, so I'll probably hang around because I got the
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the quote from American Ramp Company for additional skate park elements utilizing Sourcewell procurement.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Further discussion? All in favor, vote by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item L, deliberate and act on sub-recipient agreement between the Department of Finance and Administration and the City of Raton for the Quality of Life Grant sub-recipient agreement, amendment number 2.
I yield to the Deputy City Manager.
Not a lot of substantive changes in this, except for the federal reporting requirements have changed. It was a last-minute email that came in Friday while I was out that the ladies graciously added to the agenda, but we were on monthly reporting requirements during the past administration. They want to reflect a change to quarterly reporting. Doesn't change dollars, dates, anything, except for, I guess now I have to do 8 less reports this year. As a general update on quality of life, the shipping container bathrooms installed. We've got a few tweaks that'll be up and ready before the end of baseball season and 100% ready for All-Stars. Quality of life is partly building Little League bullpens. Fencing is constructed, turf application is next. The final part, and that will expend the remaining funds, except for my grant match. That'll be used to build the batting cages. We're gonna try to sneak in one before All-Stars, but the reality is we need to deconstruct all the cages that are there and do it right, do it once. And I didn't want to interfere with the high school softball season or Little League season. So the second these tournaments are over, we'll start drilling some piers, setting up the batting cages. The last set was a much less robust set of batting cages, and we got at least 12 years out of those stands and nets. These are a lot higher quality. I think we have great batting cages for the next 10, 15 years easy, and we should wrap that up early in the next fiscal year.
Cool. Questions, comments?
I just love how many people this project touches in our community. It is used by so many different families, and it's just been a great project, so appreciate all the work you've done to chase that grant money.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Entertain motion.
I will move to approve the subrecipient agreement between the Department of Finance Administration and City of Raton for Quality of Life Grant Subrecipient Agreement Amendment Number 2.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Chase. Item M, deliberate and act on resound business license in lieu of franchise agreement. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, due to the city attorney and Resound working out details, we ask that this item be postponed.
Motion to postpone the Resound business license and lieu franchise agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to postpone item M. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I could use a little break. Whenever.
Okay. Marty, at 8 o'clock, we'll be taking about a 3-minute break. 3 minutes? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Item N, consider a professional consulting services agreement between the City of Raton and Better City LLC. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a consulting agreement with Better City LLC to exercise option year 2 of the contract. There is no increase in the cost over the previous years, and this is paid from economic development funds. We are seeking funds from the United States Department of Transportation to help supplement that this year, but we don't have that money quite yet. However, the city recommends that you vote in the affirmative.
Questions or comments? Man, I'll ask a question. How much are we using these folks still?
A lot.
Okay.
How many, is this the last year of option and then?
I think we have one more year after this. But
3 years.
it was a base plus 3, and this is year 2. Or this is base plus 2 right now, so this is the 3rd year.
Okay.
Is this separate from the work Ann does?
This is the work Ann does.
That's what I thought. So
She does
We do
an
use
incredible
it a lot.
lot of grant writing, setting up city events, and
Yep. All right.
and like I said, we might be getting some money to supplement this.
May I make one other comment?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 6, the interstate expansion I-27, the first bullet, I just want to make sure that that is under the direction of Ports to Plains and not a separate,
No.
because it sounds like it's a
That's-
separate advocacy group, but just want to make sure that that's all within Ports to Plains.
No, it is within Ports to Plains.
I will move to approve the professional consulting services agreement between the City of Raton and Better City LLC.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item O, deliberate and act on proposal from Code 3 Service LLC for an upgrade to 700 DTRS radios and Mindshare dispatch consoles for the Raton Police Department utilizing state price agreement number 10-00000-20-000 4-8. Mr. Meston.
In your, Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a proposal from Code 3 Services. This is a follow-up to the March 23rd meeting. Item X, deliberate and act on proposal from Code 3 Services Limited Liability Corporation for the purchase of P25 digital radio system and dispatch consoles for Raton Police Department utilizing the above state price agreement. This will void that action in order to engage with the state radio system, which is a better system with the same vendor under the same pricing agreement, utilizing state funds. This increases it to $249,772.99. Again, this is paid for by the state, and the city recommends you vote in affirmative in this matter.
Questions or comments?
So this is replacing
X,
the March.
the March thing on X, yeah.
We want to get on the state system.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're going to use all of that 250 now, it looks like. Pretty close. Any other comments? Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the proposal from Code 3 Services LLC for an upgrade to 700 DTRS radios and Mindshare dispatch consoles for the RPD utilizing state price agreement as listed, and that voids the previous action.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're running item P, deliberate and act on amendment to professional services contract with Ayers Associates, Inc. for the Brownfield Program Services. Mr. Meston.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is an amendment for professional services approved reference EPA-funded Brownfield Program Services Agreement dated February 5th, 2025 between Ayers Associates and the City of Raton to address force majeure events and Brownfield Program Services. The city recommends that you vote in the affirmative.
Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I appreciate that this is here. It looks like it addresses some of the concerns we had with the last agreement. So I appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Now I will move to approve the amendment to the professional services contract with Ayers Associates, Inc. for the Brownfield Program Services.
Second?
Motion and second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will take a 3-minute recess. Thank you. I didn't recognize you. 10 years. Moving on to item Q, deliberate and act on out-of-state travel for the Brownfield Conference in Chicago, August 5th through 8th, 2025. Mr. Messis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a travel estimate for two employees, Jaden Wealth and Cynthia Molina, to travel to Chicago August 5th through 8th, 2025. This travel is funded by EPA at a cost of $4,108, and the city recommends that you vote in the affirmative on this action.
I believe this is a requirement of the
grant.
Brownfield grant. Yes. Any other questions, comments?
I just wish my trips to DC were funded by the EPA because you get $92 a day to eat instead of a lot less.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Any other comments? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the out-of-state travel for Brownfield Conference in Chicago, August 5th through 8th, 2025.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item R, deliberate and act on resolution 2025-31, fiscal year 26 interim budget approval for City of Raton, Raton Waterworks, Raton Public Service Company. Mr. Messer.
Mayor and Commission, the interim budgets were developed based on need and through cooperation with all user departments, elected official, and other department supervisors. The meetings for public input and review of these documents were duly advertised and held on April 22nd, April 29th, and May 13th in compliance with the State Open Meetings Act. It is a majority opinion of the governing body that these proposed interim budget meets the requirements currently determined for fiscal year 25-26. The city recommends you vote in the affirmative.
I guess we're having a presentation from Michael Ann.
That's the next one, isn't it? Or is this one?
Did I read the wrong one?
No.
Oh.
I believe this is this one.
Deliberate and act on resolution 2531, interim budget approval.
So this is she prepared it.
Yeah, let's let Michael Ann have her spotlight here real quick, all right?
She works hard.
She's worked hard on this.
Sorry, Michael.
Those are for you, Rick, for your budget, and also for Lindy. Those are just some replacement pages. Mayor and Commission, I know you've had a long meeting this evening, but we have worked pretty diligently the last couple weeks to prepare this interim budget for you. We've gone over some of this in the past. Okay. So every year our objective is to prepare and adopt an interim budget, and we follow the statutory guidelines per 6-6-2 state statutes that does require that each local public body furnish and file with the Department of Finance a proposed interim budget for fiscal year 2026 by June 1st, and then we will also close out the fiscal year, calculate our actual cash balances, and then prepare the final budget to be submitted no later than July 31st. You know, we talk about this throughout the year, why the budget's important. It is the written document that shows how much revenue we are projecting and how it will be spent during the given period of time. So our fiscal year ends June 30, so it runs July 1 through June 30. The main purpose is to ensure that the unlimited needs of the city are prioritized in the order of importance. You talked a little bit about that this evening with the ICIP discussion. There are a lot of planning documents and things that we do throughout the year to try to prioritize the needs of the city. As you know, we have multiple budget adjustments that we approve throughout the year, so it is a living document and things are constantly changing and we have to adapt as other important needs arise. City officials and our departments use the budget process to establish their own spending priorities and identify revenues to pay those for those activities within their own departments. And our goal is always to submit a balanced budget, which is required. What the city has done, and you'll see in this year's budget, we are required to maintain a 1/12 cash reserve, but the city's been maintaining probably 5/12 to 6/12. So every year we propose to dip into our cash reserves for one-time capital improvements. Some of that is related to abatement of nuisance properties, and also we have a long list of building needs and repairs. So we'll go over that list here in a minute. The budget does help ensure that we are good stewards of the taxpayer dollars and transparent in our preparation and presentation of the proposed budget. The City of Raton provides an opportunity for citizen input, and you'll see within the resolution that we did have 3 public hearings allowing for citizen input. The budget also helps ensure accountability for all purchases and prevent overspending. The budget reflects decisions to tax and spend, to borrow, and to consume and invest. Our main sources of general fund income are the gross receipts, which we receive monthly, also property tax received twice a year, December and May, and then we also have the small cities assistance, which is usually an unknown amount that we receive after the legislative session. We also receive franchise taxes from the waterworks utility, natural gas, telecom companies, etc. Rents and services, we have various leases in place, and we have ambulance service revenue and dispatch agreements, and then we have licenses and permits that could be for business licenses, planning and zoning, sign permits. The sources of revenue for other city funds, we do have tax increments that we've imposed over the years, specifically for the aquatic center. We have 1/8% for operations, 0.5% for debt service and capital improvements of the aquatic center, and we also have 1/16% for our transfer station debt service. Solid waste is also an enterprise fund, and it generates its revenue from the refuse charges to residential and commercial customers. So in this year's budget, we just wanted to highlight, we are proposing a 2.5% increase in GRT based on the past trend. You'll see when we review our April financial report, we'll kind of go over the gross receipts tax report year to date. The proposed general fund budget for this year is $7,194,532 with a projected ending cash of $3,173,36, and that would be if we do spend what we're proposing to dip into our cash reserves to achieve. The 1/12 this year, based on that level of expenditures, would be, we would have to maintain $599,544.33. If we do budget adjustments throughout the year that increase the general fund expenditures, then that amount will adjust up as well. We are proposing a 5% pay increase for the non-union employees, excluding elected positions, term or probationary. I did go ahead and make the adjustment for newly elected officials. We will have an election coming up in November, and so anybody that takes office as of January 1st would receive the $1,000 a month. And that was an ordinance that the commission passed a couple years ago. So half of the year would be at the current rate, and then January 1st it would adjust. Union increases were made also per the terms of our various contracts. We are budgeting a 20% health insurance premium increase based on the correspondence that we received from the state a few weeks ago. So the total FY26 interim budget for all funds will be just over $30 million. So that includes quite a few of the grants that we've been awarded. It does not include any grants that we haven't officially received award notification. So between now and the final budget, if I was to get notification on like a MAP, a co-op, any of those programs, we would incorporate that into the final budget. We are still waiting for contracts related to legislative capital outlay, so none of that would be currently included in this budget either. We are projecting gross receipts revenues from the following local construction projects in FY26. We do know that there has been a little bit of a delay with the Kearney Film School project in this fiscal year, but hopefully we can see some momentum. And on that project, the Maverick gas station has already broke ground and is moving fairly quickly, so we would hope maybe by the end of the calendar year that construction project could be complete. We also will see increased GRT from the retail side, so that'll add to our existing tax base. The water tank rehab project, I believe, is out to bid, or was it opened?
We opened bids, and I'm not sure whether it's been officially awarded
So
yet.
the bids have been opened, but I think an award on that project is upcoming. We've talked a little bit at the past meetings about the Small Bridges project. Schuler Electrical Project, we'll be awaiting some bids on that, I think, at the end of the week. And we just talked a little bit earlier in the meeting about the Romero Park improvements. Those are ongoing. Library boiler, that should be complete in the next fiscal year. And then we also have the NMDOT North Underpass Project, 2nd Street Improvement Project, and then JCPenney demolition, which the city would have to expend the funds to demo that building. DFA does prohibit recurring expenditures from cash balances and non-recurring revenues, and it's for that reason that when I establish the interim budget, I usually factor in all of the salaries and just kind of our general operating expenses so that I can establish a balanced budget. And then once I've balanced the budget, then I can kind of create the list of the additional projects and things that we would like to expend general fund reserves on. So I have included in this interim budget $50,000 for Public Works pickup truck. We're looking at about probably $400,000 of abatement expense for nuisance properties. That does include the funds for the JCPenney demolition. We've got about $22,500. That's the 50% match that the city commits to for our law enforcement retention payments. City Hall Foundation, the Schuler Electrical Project. The education HVAC units still need to be addressed, and then we also have the 2 large airport projects, which we commit matching funds from the general fund. So we will have a little bit of carryover on some of these park improvements that weren't completed at the end of this fiscal year, and then the commission did previously commit $255,000, which was a transfer for a new ambulance that was approved in this fiscal year, but the anticipated delivery of that unit is not until January. So that's kind of being carried over from this year's budget. Some of these are probably a little harder to see on the screen, but this is similar to the comparison that I gave you with the draft budget. We did discuss during our budget workshop that our final budget would include any sort of residual payments that we would receive from Raton Waterworks. That money is unknown at this time, but if we do at the end of the fiscal year receive a residual payment, we could include that additional revenue and then also decide at that time how to expend those funds in the final budget. So that would be something we could look at as far as a change in the final. I did want to mention that we are receiving additional revenues from the following grants for law enforcement recruitment. The year 3 allotment is $56,250, and then the fire recruitment this year the legislature voted to give us a 75% allocation, so we would get $168,750. So these funds are helping defer some monies for other things within the budget, but once the grant funds are gone, we need to be able to absorb those positions into our annual budget. So other than that, let's see, you can't see that one on the screen, but in your budget binder, that's the total of all the funds for the city. If we look at the revenue side, you'll see that the gross receipts does make up about 60% of our budget, and then property tax after that, and then some of the other revenues make up the remainder. You'll see there at the bottom that I'm showing our revenue over expenditures is the amount of the list of the projects that we're proposing to dip into reserves. And then if we look at the expense side, you can see that our emergency services, fire, police, dispatch make up over 50% of the budget, and then the remainder of the departments that we finance their operations out of the general fund. Gross receipts. We talked a little bit about this at the workshop. Of the 8.2583% that the city imposes for gross receipts, 2.8% of that are the increments that the city has imposed, and then we receive 1.225% back from the state of New Mexico. So of that 8.2583%, we get 4.025%. And then you can see the dedication of the various increments within that chart. I stand for any questions.
Questions or comments?
This is outstandingly well done, thank you.
The process doesn't really change from year to year. I think that the important thing is that we meet the June 1st deadline. Inevitably, there will be changes from now until the final budget, so that'll kind of give everybody time to review this document. We'll continue to meet with department heads and review their individual department budgets and kind of try to refine things for the final budget. But generally what happens is once we've submitted this, we will receive approval from the state, and as of July 1st, this will kind of be the operating budget until the final budget is submitted and approved.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
The reaction on the pay raises was accepting or acceptable?
With the staff?
Yes.
Yeah, I think with the exception that health insurance is going up 20%. I mean, 5% is a really decent raise, but it's a little hard to digest a 20%.
North Central's went up 30% instead of
Health insurance. So we did 4% last year, 5% this year.
Well, I guess leading into that, what would you project next year? I mean, in all reality, the fact that they went backwards 15%. I know we can't pull a rabbit out of the hat, but
We really don't have a lot of control of it unless the city was to potentially go out and seek coverage through another source other than the state. We tried that years ago. We kind of ended up in the same situation and ended up going back to the state because they were cheaper at the time. I think a lot of things were affected by COVID, and the state rather than imposing kind of minimal increases over a 4 or 5 year period, kind of during COVID, held back with no increases, and then the state found themselves kind of in a pickle and underwater. And then we ended up in litigation with the state because they were trying to collect probably about $240,000 just from the city to make up for the losses. So we knew this increase was coming. What will happen next year, I do not know.
We're having a retreat next week, so maybe some light will be shed there. The self-insurance fund is.
Yeah, I mean, I know what the impact is to our small community, but I can't imagine some of the larger cities what a 20% increase in the health coverage would be. Probably millions.
Any other comments, questions?
I just wanted to make a note on the waterworks budget. It says includes 3% rate increase, and that should just be a 3% revenue increase on that first page.
Oh, okay.
We had discussed, what that would look like just hypothetically, and we decided to go ahead and increase revenue by 3% as a projection instead of any kind of rate increase.
Let me make a note of that.
This is at the very top right of the first page.
Oh, okay, and it should say what?
Revenue.
I'll bring that to Geneva's attention. She can correct it before it gets submitted to DFA. So we did provide the commission with copies of the RPS and water budgets as well. So we will be submitting everything by the June 1st deadline.
Any other comments? And motion.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 2025-31, fiscal year interim budget approval for the City of Raton, Raton Waterworks, and Raton Public Service.
Motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2025-31, fiscal year 26-29 budget. Further discussion? Yes, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Sagata?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chatterley?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
And Commissioner Honeycutt?
Motion carries. Thank you. Item S, deliberate and act on Resolution 2025-32, approval of the April 2025 financial report. Michael Land.
Mayor Commission, we bring to you this evening the reconciled report as of April 30th. You'll see that our ending cash balance was a little over 4.7 million. But once we subtract out our required 1/12th reserve and the CD that we have, which doesn't mature until January 23rd of 2026, you do have an available cash in the general fund of $3,092,308.67. So the projected ending cash that I did give you as part of the interim budget, we would need to take into account that we still do have $1 million of that invested in a CD. I've provided for you the ending cash balances and the remaining funds in the month of May. Typically, for debt service, we do pay the principal and interest on our New Mexico Finance Authority loans. So the payments for that will be reflected in our next month's report. The gross receipts that we received for the month of May does reflect our March business activity. It was down slightly, so we currently are only 1% above our projected gross receipts revenue. It's hard to pinpoint potentially what the cause of that would be. I mean, it could be related to various construction that we had going this time of year that we don't have this year. But hopefully, I'm optimistic that we'll still end the fiscal year well above our budget projection. So we are hoping for a better distribution next month. Please note that there was a reconciling issue at month end. This happens occasionally when we run payroll. Sometimes it crosses two months. We have to run the checks on April 30th to fund the payroll direct deposit, but the expense doesn't get posted to the general ledger, in this case on May 1st. So our accounting system does the adjusting entries to correct itself in the month of May. So this won't cause any issues at the end of the fiscal year. The proposed interim budget, as I assured you, will be submitted by the June 1st deadline. We did not receive any audit proposals in response to our request for solicitations, so I will be re-advertising that. I did reach out to our current audit firm and found out that Jeremiah Armijo that we work with is leaving the firm at the end of the month. So they are having some staffing issues, and that's why they chose not to submit a proposal. So until they can fill the vacancy. And I think we have seen that with other audit firms. I think what we're seeing more so is that they're merging, so a lot of the smaller audit firms are being bought out by some of these larger companies. So there's less and less firms statewide to do these audits. And then, of course, our location. Not everybody that has a firm in Albuquerque wants to come to Raton, but we'll put it back out there. I'm hoping those that didn't secure contracts, there will definitely be some people looking to get a contract. So I'll report back to you on that. We also are advising departments to review their purchases for goods and services to ensure that anything they're ordering now can be delivered prior to June 30. Otherwise, we should wait until after the start of the new fiscal year. So those are some of the discussions we'll have with the department heads and try to factor some of that into the final budget if needed, if we can't accomplish some of those items in this fiscal year. Lodgers tax, we have really seen it rebound this fiscal year, which is a good thing. I think also with the cancellation of the 3 billboard contracts and hopefully the revenue kind of normalizing, we'll be able to fund some of those historical events and maybe some new events, but we'll kind of still continue to monitor that throughout the year. Gas tax still trending down. Our distribution was just a little over 13,000 for the month of May. Cannabis excise tax, not real sure. We had an extremely low distribution this month. It was really high last month and low this month, so I don't know if there's some sort of an adjustment going on there at tax and revenue. But other than that, we're just working really hard to close out the fiscal year, kind of reviewing outstanding grants and grants that will expire as of June 30. That's kind of our primary focus right now.
Is there any opportunity, can a person use an out-of-state accounting firm, or is that kind of frowned on?
So the state auditor's office has an approved list of IPAs. They refer to them as IPAs. There are out-of-state firms on that list, but they have to go through a process to be pre-approved. So we cannot select somebody that's not on that list. But yeah, there are some out-of-state firms that have been pre-approved.
Didn't we use someone out of El Paso one time?
Yeah, we did have a firm, White, Samaniego, and Campbell, and then they got acquired by another New Mexico firm, but we did use them for several years. There was another individual, Harshwal, somebody, he was with, I think, Moss Adams, and then started his own company and is based out of San Diego, so I think they're still on the state auditor list.
I was just kind of curious if there was somebody with Pueblo or Springs that maybe a little friendlier to them to come south.
Yeah, we'll certainly review the list of IPAs. But yeah, right off the top of my head, I can't tell you if there's any in Colorado.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution 2025-32, approval of April 25 financial reports.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item T, deliberate and act on resolution 2025-33, fiscal year 25 budget adjustment number 14. Plan.
Mayor and Commission, we bring this budget adjustment to you this evening. We have several just line item adjustments within the police department. Upon review of my April financial statements, I did see that we're kind of falling short in the PERA contributions. For a little while this year, we were fully staffed, and so we under budgeted that particular line item. If we do have any staff vacancies in the coming months, some of that may kind of even itself out, but I think on the next budget adjustment, we may also have an adjustment to the health insurance for police department as well, but we'll kind of continue to monitor that. We also in dispatch, we are having to process retro pay. It was discovered on 2 of our dispatchers that they had been paid the wrong hourly rate on their anniversary dates. So that is something that we do need to correct, but it will result in some retro pay for those 2 dispatchers. So I've included that in this budget adjustment. We are still doing some temporary transfers for the Kearney School project, but I think we are really close to getting that reimbursement request prepared and submitted to HUD. That way, the city right now, the general fund is owed about $329,000. So I really want to get those funds back in the general fund before the end of the fiscal year. And then at the previous meeting, we had awarded the fireworks contract, and I had reported to you that we have close to about $6,000 in donations. So I just have some line items within that fund to account for the donations that we did receive last year.
Any questions? Entertain a motion.
I will move to approve resolution 2025-33, FY budget adjustment number 14.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item U, deliberate and act on resolution 2025-34, adopting the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan. Mr. Messis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is Resolution 2025-34, adopting the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan, which allows Mortgage Finance Authority approved affordable housing plan, enables the City of Raton to adopt an affordable housing ordinance, apply to be certified by MFA as a qualified grantee, and ultimately make donations in favor of affordable housing under the New Mexico Affordable Housing Act.
And this is the North Central project. Yes.
Motion to adopt resolution 2025-34, adopting the Colfax County Affordable Housing Plan.
Motion and second to adopt. Further discussion. All in favor, vote by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item V, deliberate and act on resolution 2535, confirming the affordable housing is among the purposes of the City of Raton. Mr. Mestis.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a resolution confirming the affordable housing is among the purposes of the City of Raton, and the City of Raton plans to donate 1 or more homes to the North Central New Mexico Economic Development District for rehabilitation and resale of affordable housing within MFA's Restoring Communities program.
Again, this is just housekeeping, folks.
I will move to approve.
A motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-35. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item W, deliberate and act on resolution 2025-36, supporting a proposed New Mexico land banking for property, community, and economic revitalization act. Mr. Mustin.
Mayor and Commission, in your packet is a resolution supporting a land bank in New Mexico. This legislation would authorize the creation and operation of land banks in New Mexico and modernize the legal tools needed to address, vacate, abandon, and tax delinquent properties. It would reform property tax and municipal lien enforcement to allow for the extinguishment of uncollected full debts, create mechanisms for clearing title, establish rules for property donations, and streamline the transfer of blighted properties into responsible hands. These changes are designed to make rehabilitation and reuse financially feasible and to empower communities to take proactive steps in revitalizing neighborhoods. The city recommends you vote in the affirmative, and boy, do we need this.
Yeah, this is something we have talked about for years. We thought we had the league behind it about 4 years ago and couldn't get any momentum in the legislature. So, but it's something that we could definitely use.
Definitely. Does the league know this is coming as part of the process?
Yes.
So you guys have been looking. Awesome.
Entertain a motion.
I will move to approve Resolution 2025-36, supporting the proposed New Mexico land banking for property, community, and economic revitalization act.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item X, city manager report, and this better be one of your quickest ones.
I will keep it under 10 minutes. Mayor and Commission, bottom line up front, the Summit of Governments will be held on June 3rd at Vermejo Park. The focus on this bi-state initiative is to create a regional transportation plan and possibly a transportation authority to support commerce between New Mexico and Colorado. We will have visitors from Washington, D.C. next week for this event. Mentions and dispatches.
What time? Rick?
It is at Vermejo Park starting at 9 o'clock. And you're doing the welcome.
Are we doing is anyone riding together, and if we had a...
Yeah, we're going to try and carpool as much as we can. I've only confirmed that 2 people are going out of this group.
I can be there.
Okay, then we have to post
As a
the
potential
quorum.
quorum.
Yeah. Mentions and dispatches, I'd like to give a shout out to the Raton Business Alliance that will be sponsoring a community cleanup this Saturday. With the department reports, the treasurer, as you can see tonight, has been working on the interim budget. Public Works spent time preparing for the run for the wall, including construction of new barricades, and significant time into mowing and trimming operations along South 2nd Street. The police submitted the new quote for the state radio system. The fire department have been working on getting pictures and information for the engines to turn in insurance from Western Wood Fire. Engineering is working on a streamlined renovation approach from Kearney. We should have answers to that soon. Facilities, Leonard has been dealing with a variety of plumbing problems at City Hall and other buildings. The clerk is working with the Calexico Alliance to build a regional chamber of commerce and an economic development. They're working with a number of initiatives, an idea for California businesses expressing a desire to relocate. And finally, a few closing thoughts. Some of you have already heard this today. As many of you know, I lived in Maryland for several years and spent a lot of time in Baltimore. After traveling back to the East Coast a few weeks ago, I started watching episodes of The Wire. The Wire is a crime drama set and produced in Baltimore, where it does a brilliant job providing narrative about how all of us live together and how institutions have an effect on our ordinary lives. One of the characters is a criminal by the name of Omar Little. Omar frequently robs street-level drug dealers and menacingly whistles the farmer in the dell when stalking his prey. The tune The Farmer in the Dell serves as a layered and symbolic theme drawing on contrast between innocence and violence. He quotes the final line of the song, "The cheese stands alone," which serves as a metaphor and as a reflection of Omar himself, an isolated figure who operates by his own moral code, standing against both the dealers and the law. Like the cheese, Omar is ultimately alone in the world where loyalty is scarce and trust is dangerous. The turn of phrase captures the solitary burden of living by a moral code of principles and what he believes is a corrupt system. So why am I telling you this? Because, even when people believe a system is deeply corrupt, can actually be pretty sound at its core, staying true to personal values, and it can help preserve its integrity. Public opinion may loudly point to unfairness and corruption, but a thoughtful person can see that the system, though imperfect, still works. The cheese stands alone isn't about being naive. It's about staying committed to what the system should be, even when it falls short. It's about doing your part with integrity, showing that the individual values can uphold justice and keep the system honest. That is all, Mayor.
Any other comments? This meeting stands adjourned.